The Detroit Pistons lose another tough loss to the Charlotte Hornets, but this time they deserve to lose this game. They did not deserve to win. We'll break down why that is in today's episode of Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Ku Cahill. You can find me over on Twitter at Ku Cahill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Later on, I want to talk about a good development that did happen within this game. And also, if Cade is to miss some time, what's it going to look like without him? What are the concerns? But first, I want to break down why the Detroit Pistons had no reason winning this game against the Charlotte Hornets. If you missed the game, the Pistons went to overtime, lost 123-121 to the Charlotte Hornets. They were down big time in the fourth quarter, but came back, fought in the fourth quarter, dropped 30 points in the fourth, outscored the Hornets by 14, held them to 16, and forced overtime. But if they would have been able to win this game in overtime, and if Malik Beasley was able to hit that point-blank putback that he had at the end of regulation, I mean, right there, wide open, right in front of the basket, way easier shot than even Brand Miller had at the end of the last game the Pistons lost. If he hits that, it was a really good look. He just missed it. But even if he would have hit it, it would have been a steal by the Detroit. It wouldn't have been a win. It would have been a stolen, well, it would have been a win, but it would have been a stolen win by the Detroit Pistons, not a deserved one. And there's multiple different reasons why the Detroit Pistons did not deserve to win this game. First thing I'm going to bring up is this. I hold him in high regard. I think very highly of him. He's the face of the franchise. Doesn't mean I'm not afraid to criticize him. Cade Cunningham, listen. He had 5 turnovers. We've said it before. You want him to be fighting between 3 and 4 turnovers. That's where it's somewhat of his usage rate. You can live with that. More than that, it's going to be tough. He had 5 tonight. It's not as extreme as like 7, but 5 is still too many. 5's too many. That's first. But more importantly, shot 9 of 26 from the field. Look, the team was -3 with him on the floor. They lost by 2. He didn't play in overtime. He was a big reason why they came back into the game. In the fourth quarter, he played almost the entire fourth quarter. He was their whole offense. Even with him missing, he was creating offense for others. I can understand all of that. He's able to impact the game still for the Detroit Pistons without scoring efficiently. I get that. But you can't shoot 9 of 26. You have to shoot better than this. This is the second time within the last, I believe, week and a half that he's had like a concert tour date as his field goal percentage. He shot 34% from the field in this game. He shot 9 threes. I'm cool with him taking 9 threes. All those threes were good looks. He probably should have hit, I'm sure he probably feels like he should have hit 5 of those. So, look, he ended the game with 27, 10, and 7. So the stats don't look too bad. And again, I'm going to acknowledge, I'm aware that with him on the floor, they just simply are going to run better because he's their lone point guard and the guy who creates the gravity and creates advantages for others. I get that. This is why they struggled so badly in overtime without him. Because at the end of the regulation, he obviously had that fall that took him out of overtime. He didn't end up returning at overtime. He did hit 2 free throws to give the Pistons the lead with about 10 seconds. I believe it was their second to last offensive possession. But he was ruled out for overtime. Either way, Cade has to shoot the basketball better. He's capable of shooting the basketball better. I know he's been dealing with back spasms. I know he's now going to be dealing with whatever injury this is, whether it's a back, whether it's a hip, tailbone, whether it's hip. I understand that, but 9 of 26, with a lot of those looks, there is, let me not say a lot. There was a good, 4 of those looks that he easily should convert. Easily, 4 of those. And that's not even considering the 3-point looks that he had wide open. He has to hit those. So, Cade, he's the star of the team. He's the face of the franchise. Held to a high standard. So, I'm going to hold you to the high standard. You just can't shoot 9 of 26. You got to shoot better than that. That's 34% from the field. You can't do that. Did get to the free throw line 9 times, though. That's another game that he's getting to the free throw line a lot. Loving that. But got to shoot better from the field. But outside of that, it's not all on Cade because the team, again, was better with him on the floor. He was part of what led them back. The next thing is they had 19 turnovers. Like I just said earlier, and we talked about this in the last podcast, your two main ball handlers can have higher turnovers. Your two high usage players, they can have high turnovers. You can live with that. You can get away with that. That's what comes with being high usage players. So Cade, you'll live with him being around 3 to 4 turnovers. 5 is a little too much. Ivy had 3. Honestly, I'll live with it. So if Cade and Ivy have 8 turnovers and no one else has, and the rest of the team turns the ball over 3 times, you're at 11 turnovers. You're cool. You're chilling. You're smooth. The problem is Cade and Ivy combined for 8. The rest of the team had 11. Your low usage guys cannot also be turning the ball over. Then you're doomed. You're just doomed at that point. Tobias Harris had 2. Duren had 1. Malik Beasley had 1. Wendell Moore Jr. had 1. Simone Fontecchio had 1. Ron Holland had 2. Isaiah Stewart had 3. You can't do that. You're not going to win. You're not going to win. Even if you cut Cade's turnovers down, like I said, I want them to be between 3 and 4. Let's cut Cade down to 3. You're still at 17 turnovers because the rest of the team committed 11. Like, it just can't happen. You can't have lower usage players turn the ball over. You can understand it with guys who have their ball in their hands all the time, who are creating for everyone all the time, like Cade and Ivy. But other players cannot be turning the basketball over consistently. It's full stop. It's going to lose them games, and it lost them this game. That's number 2. Number 3, I said this before the year, and somehow, some way, JB Bickerstaff has been absolutely phenomenal to hold this off. However, I think you're starting to see the Pistons defense regress back to the mean. What's the saying? Water meet the level? Is that what the saying is? The Pistons defense has been slipping the last few games. Now, I know what people may say. Oh, well, they held the Wizards to 104. They held the Raptors to 95. Yeah, those two are bad teams. They went against the Bucks, they dropped 127. Went against the Heat, dropped 121. Went against the Bulls, dropped 122. The Hornets dropped 123. That's 4 of the last 6 games. Their defense is starting to slip. And I think they're starting to regress to the mean. I think teams are starting to learn how to attack them and take advantage of the weaknesses they have within their defense. Even if you get more effort out of non-defenders like Tobias, THJ, stuff like that, they are learning how to pick apart the Pistons defense and what their weakness is. Guys aren't communicating. Way too many open shots be given up to the opposing team. They have no point of attack defense right now. LaMelo Ball was able to get to wherever he wanted to get to. LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller combined for 73 points. 2 players, 73 points. They just were getting whatever they wanted to go to. They don't have much rim protection without Isaiah Stewart on the floor. Their bigs, or Jalen Duren has another struggling defensive game to where JB played Isaiah Stewart 5 more minutes than him. Jaden Ivey dealing with foul trouble, but also really did not play well in this game. It was bad defensively, and JB kept him on the bench for a long stretch in the second half. THJ, bad on both ends. Wendell Moore Jr. played 21 minutes because he was competing defensively. And he actually played a fine game, I'm not going to lie to you. 7 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block. I mean, Wendell Moore Jr. is actually playing fine. But he's taking minutes from guys, and JB's putting him on the floor because he's one of the only players he can trust to play defense over the last few games. Their defense is starting to slip. Now, with Asar Thompson coming back, this all may be moot. Asar may save all of this. But their defense is starting to regress to where the talent on the roster points to it being. Teams are really going at their starting center. They're putting Duren in pick and roll almost every single possession. They went at Duren almost every single possession. Duren can't stay on the floor. He's jumping at Grant Williams pump fakes on the perimeter, giving Grant Williams wide open layups, giving him and ones. Look, they're having miscommunications on whether they want to switch or not. Guys are getting wide open threes on pick and pops because they can't communicate what they want to do. Brandon Miller had a chance to win this game. No, not Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller actually did hit the 3 I was referencing. They absolutely just completely, not bumbled, fumbled a switch at the end of overtime. Brandon Miller hits a fadeaway 3 wide open. But then LaMelo Ball had a chance to win the game at the end of regulation. The Pistons somehow, with 1.2 seconds left, it's not like there's going to be an offensive rebound. Just switch across the board. Switch across the board. It's not like you can take 3 dribbles to the rim with 1.2 seconds. Just switch across the board and put your hands up. Somehow the Pistons fumble that, and LaMelo Ball literally gets the most wide open look I maybe have ever seen someone get with 1 second left. I mean, it was the cleanest look of all time. They are lucky that LaMelo Ball took one more dribble, and the shot was late anyways. I don't know why he took one more dribble. He just could have taken the shot from the free throw line, he would have gamed it. It would have been over with. But he took another dribble for some reason. I don't get it. But they fumbled that. They are not communicating defensively. Guys aren't aware of what the scheme is or what they're supposed to be doing out there. Guys are jumping at pump fakes nonstop. And then the last point. Before the game on the broadcast, Greg Kelser was talking about how the Pistons should dominate the glass. And Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren should have huge games because they don't have Mark Williams on the other side and they need to really set the tone. Well, they didn't do that. Moussa Diabate had 16 rebounds. 16! He was outworking during the entire game. He was giving Stu problems the entire game. Him and Stu got into it multiple times because Diabate was aggressive, physical, and going after the ball nonstop. He was outworking the Detroit Pistons. So the Hornets don't have Mark Williams. You get beat down. You get outworked by Diabate. You turn the ball over. You're giving up open shots. You can't stop dribble penetration. You can't execute simple switches across the board. You're giving up open looks at the end of regulation. You're giving up open looks in overtime. You're turning the ball over. You can't hit shots. You shot 42% from the field. Your best player shot 9 of 26 from the field. You should not have been even close in this game. The fact that they were close in this game, they would have been able to steal this game. This would have been a steal. But at some point, the Pistons have to win in Charlotte. You cannot keep losing in Charlotte. You can't lose games like this to the Charlotte Hornets if you say you want to be a play-in team. You just can't. This was a bad loss. They had a few days off too. They had a rough schedule every other day, back-to-backs every other day. They had a few days off coming into this game. They should have been rested. But they lost because they played poorly. They're lucky it went to overtime. It should not. They got outplayed the whole game, outworked the whole game, and their defense is showing cracks. It's starting to show cracks. So let me know what you guys think. Comment section down below or over on Twitter @KookHill. When we come back, like I mentioned earlier, Cade Cunningham went down at the end of regulation, did not play in overtime. They said it was a hip injury. It looked like he landed straight on his tailbone, along with the back spasms he's been dealing with. I would say, as of right now, I would just take a guess and say there's a good chance that he could miss at least the next game. If he is out for a few games or however long he is, how much trouble are the Detroit Pistons going to be in? We've all hit a point where we realized it was time to make serious money moves. Take control of your finances by using Chime checking account with features like no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Learn more at chime.com/NBA. Get spotted on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. No monthly fees or maintenance fees. Over 50,000 free ATM. To date, Chime has spotted members over 30 billion. Get friends, give friends a boost. Eligible members get complimentary boost to temporarily increase a friend's spot me limit. When you give a boost, they can boost you back to temporarily raise your limit. Set up direct deposit in your Chime account after qualifying direct deposit of $200+. Chime will notify you to enroll in Spot Me. With an activated debit card, Chime will spot you up to $200 when you exceed your balance. Your next direct deposit is applied to your negative balance. Chime never charges fees or interest for using Spot Me. Make your fall finances a little greener by working towards your financial goals with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/NBA. That's chime.com/NBA. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. members. FDIC. Spot Me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Terms and conditions apply. Go to chime.com/theclosures for details. Chime feels like progress. Now, let me tell you about another one of our sponsors, Game Time. I'm a procrastinator. I wait till the last second with just about everything. It often screws me over, especially when it comes to buying tickets. But Game Time has saved me and made it much easier to purchase tickets and saved me from being the procrastinator that I absolutely am. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And why I love Game Time is because you can get last minute deals, again, all the way up to the last minute, but sometimes even after the event has already started. So someone who waits to the last second still gets a good deal. And also, you can see the view from your seat all within the app. No longer you have to buy a ticket, show up at the event, see if that seat's good for you, whether you got a good seat, etc., etc. No, you can see right within the app if that seat was made for you. You also got the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So at the end of this game, at the end of regulation, Cade Cunningham drove to the basket, went up for a layup over Grant Williams, got fouled, landed flat. It looked like he landed directly on his tailbone. It was a rough fall. Didn't have nothing, preventing the fall. Didn't get his hands underneath him, his arms underneath him, his legs underneath him. It was just all looked like tailbone to me. Rough fall. And he was on the ground for a minute there. Charlotte was able to challenge the call, which allowed Cade to get back to the huddle. They put a heat pack on his back. He was able to come back out, hit the 2 free throws, give the Detroit Pistons the lead. At the end of the fourth quarter, it looked like that may have won the Pistons the game. However, the Pistons weren't able to get a stop, and LaMelo Ball came down and hit a floater. Cade stayed in the game, walked the ball up, and immediately gave it to Malik Beasley. Didn't even try to isolate. You could tell he was obviously hurt, and he was not available for overtime. Definitely would have loved to see Cade get a chance to ISO at the end of this game and try to win the game. The shot clock was gone. Had a chance to win the game, but obviously he was hurt. Gave it up to Malik Beasley and did not play the rest of overtime. Was ruled out. This is going to be rough for the Detroit Pistons if Cade's out for any foreseeable time, and it would be rough for Cade because despite the fact that I just said that he shot 9.26 in this game, you're seeing national media start to talk about it. And I think most people understand this, are comprehending this. Cade needs to become needs to get more efficient. I think he's going to get more efficient as the season goes on. He's been dealing with back spasms the last few weeks. I think that's playing a lot into it. Why he hasn't been as efficient. And definitely his finishing around the rim. He's been at the beginning of the year, he was going up for dunks nonstop. He was trying to poster guys at all times. Now he's not even really trying to dunk. He's been stiffened up. I think that's playing into it. But my point is, I think most people are understanding, and it's been talked about nationally, Cade's starting to take that next step. He's impacting the game at numerous levels. He's playing on He's been impactful defensively. His assists are at career high. He's way more active on the glass. He's creating offense for others. He's scoring more. He's taking another step. He just needs to get more. He needs to continue to work on the efficiency. Cade wants to continue to build on the season, obviously. He doesn't want to miss any games. And I feel bad if he does end up missing games that he's not going to be able to continue to keep building on this season. He's going to have to yet again deal with missing games due to some injuries. So I feel bad for Cade. I thought he was in the middle of a breakout season with the Pistons, and with the Pistons winning some games, he was getting some respect and getting talked about. But this is going to hurt the Pistons a lot more than it's going to hurt Cade. The overtime in this game against the Charlotte Hornets, any minutes without Cade so far this year, and however long he ends up missing games. I do think if he was ruled out for the rest of overtime, I have to assume that he was hurting pretty bad. If he's able to play next game, great. That'd be perfect, absolutely perfect. But let's just assume that he's not going to play. The Pistons struggled mightily, absolutely mightily, without Cade on the floor in overtime. They couldn't create any kind of offense at all. They could not create any offense at all without Cade on the basketball floor. And we've talked about it. When Cade and Ivy are both on the floor, they have a plus net rating. When one of them goes off, they immediately drop 4 points. Or 5 points per 100 possessions. Because they don't have any other point guards on the team. They don't have any other creators on this team. That's why in overtime, when LaMelo Ball went out, the Charlotte Hornets still had Brandon Miller breaking down guys and trying to go score and get into the paint and causing advantages. They still had him doing that. For the Detroit Pistons, they didn't have anyone doing that without Cade on the floor. Jaden Ivey was really struggling. He hit 2 crazy shots with 40 seconds left to try to keep the game in balance. But for the majority of overtime, the Pistons couldn't get any offense going. They couldn't create any advantages for each other because Cade is really the only lone point guard. He is the lone point guard on the team. Ivy is more of a combo guard. Even with them playing Ivy without Cade for a lot of minutes this year, the minutes look better when he's on the floor with Cade. It's even looked good when he's on the floor with the Sasser. Cade's really their only legitimate playmaker and consistent point guard. So if he misses time, I don't know, it's going to be rough. It is going to be absolutely rough for the Detroit Pistons. I don't know how they're going to create offense. And this is going to go back to the issue of the offseason that I've had with this team. They have not addressed having a backup point guard. Like, even if you want to call him a third point guard, simply having another guy on the team, so if something like this happens, you are prepared. Right now, they are not prepared for it. They haven't been prepared when one of Cade or Ivy gets in foul trouble. All they do is they just extend it to 10-man rotation. They bring Sasser in, who's been uneven. Or they'll give some minutes to Wendell Moore Jr., who, both of those guys, neither are point guards. So you're just extending the rotation to other guys that also can't play point guard. So if one of these guys gets hurt, if one of these guys gets in foul trouble, which they have multiple times, they just flounder. They just suffer when this happens. Because this roster doesn't have an option if that happens. I truly don't understand. Trajan's done some fine things. I'm mostly cool with almost everything Trajan's done. I'm okay with almost everything he's done. The not getting another point guard in this team is still to this day, and it's going to continue to be extremely befuddling to me. I just don't understand why not. I don't get it. There's point guards on the market that don't have to play minutes. DSJ, Fultz, like there are guys out there that you don't have to play them minutes. Just tell them they're going to be a third point guard then. And if guys get into foul trouble, at least you have that option to turn to. At least you're not now screwed without a point guard. Because right now, if Cade misses games, they are screwed. They are not going to have any point guards. And if you're one of those people who believe that Ivy is a point guard, okay, have that. Then all you guys Ivy now. Like either way, either you have none or you just have Ivy. And Ivy's been in foul trouble. And if he's in foul trouble or if he's struggling, they're screwed. They'll just be screwed. So, I really wanted to use this time just to talk about how confused I am still that they did not get a backup point guard. Because this situation, knock on wood, injuries happen. One of these guys was going to get hurt at some point and miss a game or two. Again, maybe all this doesn't matter because Cade doesn't end up missing any games. Maybe he just comes back and plays still and plays through the back spasms. And I'm going to take a guess and say it looked like it was a bruised tailbone. It looked like a bruised hip. He hit it pretty hard. Maybe he comes back and just plays fine. Who knows? But if him missing all of overtime is any reason to believe that he's going to miss any games moving forward, which I would say it makes sense. I just don't understand why they didn't get backup point guard, man. I just don't understand it. And then you saw all throughout overtime. Again, like I said, in overtime, they couldn't create anything. Going back to my earlier point, Cade shot 9 of 26 from the floor in this game, and he was a -3 on the game in a 2-point loss. Here are the other starters. Ivy, -10. Duren, -17. Tobias, -7. Tim Hardaway Jr., -24. Because Cade is getting to the point where even if he's having an inefficient night, what he's bringing to the team in other aspects is impacting the game. His gravity is impacting the game. His playmaking ability is impacting the game. His rebounding is impacting the game. His defensive ability that he's showing this year is impacting the game at that point guard spot. But really his ability to break down a defense, get into the paint, make the right read, draw free throws like he's been the last few games. And for a team like this, especially on a night like this, when Jane Ivey is not playing as much, when Duren's not playing as much, when THA is not playing as much, and Malik Beasley doesn't have it going, someone has to take shots. And high volume shooting does have some kind of value when you need someone to take these shots. And without Cade taking these shots and having that type of gravity to then use that to create for others, you don't get back into this game in the fourth quarter. You just don't. So my overall point is, if you just remove that, they don't have anybody that can break. Like Ivy's gonna be the only one who can do it. So they're just not equipped. They are absolutely not equipped. And by the way, this isn't just Cade. If Ivy were to miss time, they're not equipped for that either. Because once Cade leaves the floor, they're gonna be even more screwed than they are now. So they're just not equipped for one of these guys to miss games, and it just still doesn't make sense to me. Why not? I don't understand why they are inequipped when it's such a clear hole in the team. So hopefully Cade doesn't miss any time. Hopefully he's all good. Hopefully he's straight. But if he does, man, I'm gonna be pretty frustrated. I think a lot of the fans are gonna be frustrated if he does miss time, and the lack of a backup point guard, like, obviously just becomes an even bigger talking point. Because it was such a clear, like, hole in the team they needed to address. But let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at @KukaHill. Do you guys agree, disagree? What do you guys think is going to happen if Cade does have to miss a game or two, a few games? How do you think they can play without him? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at KukaHill. When we come back, there was a good development in this game. And honestly, I'm not joking. This is a pretty big deal for the Pistons moving forward. We'll break down what that is coming up. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generate benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for product-specific disclosures. Visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Again, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And also head over to LockedOnDaily.com. Type in your email and you'll get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast. So the one positive that came out of this game, Tobias Harris woke up in this game. He had 26 points, 8 rebounds, but most importantly, he was 6 of 9 from deep. Tobias hit multiple, and I mean multiple, big-time corner threes for the Detroit Pistons in this game. And that's what they need out of him. That is what can bring the offense alive. Tobias Harris was supposed to be the Pistons' second or third best scorer. He was supposed to bring this offensive stability, this safety, this sense of safetiness to your offense, and he hasn't been able to bring that so far. He hasn't been hitting his open shots, and he hasn't been efficient within the arc enough either. But in this game, he was really good. He was exceptional offensively. He gave a winning performance. And if Tobias Harris can play that way, that's going to be big for them moving forward. They've needed that from the forward position. We saw it in preseason. Everyone was so excited because of how he looked in preseason. And how having that type of four, having that type of guy that can space the floor out and attack mismatches and drive on closeouts, all that kind of stuff, having that at the forward position that the Pistons haven't had over the last few years, how big of a deal that was going to be. And he just hasn't been able to do that. But in this game, especially in the fourth quarter, he went 4 of 4 in the fourth. 3 of 3 from deep, 11 points. That's the kind of stability they've needed from him all year, and he provided that in this game. Look, I've said this over and over before. I'm a fan of Tobias's. I think he's a good player. And over the last 5-6 years, he has been a good basketball player. We've read his stats numerous times on this podcast. He was a versatile, efficient offensive player for the last 5 years, averaging 17, 18 points a game. No one's asking him to be an all-star. No one's asking him to be a superstar. You're asking him to be that. What he was for the Sixers is be exactly that for the Pistons. 18 point per game scorer, 17 point per game scorer, shoot 36% from deep, shoot 48, 49% from the field, and that, call it a day. Shoot above 40% like you have the last few years from the corners, and everyone would be happy. You're providing exactly what they need, and everyone would be excited. But he hasn't been able to do that so far this year. So hopefully this game signals a breakout for Tobias. Because if he's able to hit those shots, it opens up the floor, and it really will start making defenses pay for helping down on Jay and Ivy or Cade Cunningham drives or helping down and tagging down the pick and roll. Especially his shots from the corners. Like, just 2 podcasts ago, I was on here like, dude, listen, he's shooting like 18% from the corners. This is terrible. Can't keep shooting like this, Tobias. Like, you know you're better than this. We know you're better than this. I know you're better than this. You got to shoot better. And he must have tuned into the podcast, just like every time we mention somebody on the podcast, we criticize someone on the podcast, we say they got to be better, all of a sudden they act better. So I have to assume this is getting across to them. They're listening to the podcast, and they're listening to my words. So congratulations to Tobias for breaking out of the slump, and hopefully he continues it moving forward. Because if the Pistons would have won this game, I probably would have gave the kudos player of the game to Tobias anyways, even despite Cade having 27, 10, and 7. Because Tobias' big shots over and over and over and over again in the fourth quarter, and his efficient scoring was huge for them. So this is to, hopefully, Tobias playing this way moving forward, and he's broken out of the slump that he started his season in. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at KukaHill how you guys feel about Tobias' play and overall how you feel about this game and everything moving forward. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Hit that subscribe button at the YouTube channel. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Till next time, peace out.